Previously, the scientists, they thought that the light of the moon was its own light. But Quran says in Surah Furqan, chapter number 25, verse number 61, blessed is he, that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has made the constellations in the sky and placed therein sun, that is a lamp, having its own light, and moon, having borrowed light. The Arabic word for moon is qamar, and its light is described as munir or nur, meaning borrowed light or a reflected light. There is not a single place in the Quran where the light of the moon is described as its own light.
Wow, this is really amazing, guys. I'm really shocked at this. Wait, what's that? The Arabic word for nur just means light, not reflected light. How else does the Quran use this Arabic word? He brings them out of the darkness into the light. And as to those who disbelieve, there are guardians or shaitans who take them out of the light into the darkness. So the same Arabic word is used. Why is everyone translating it as light and not reflected light? Maybe because Zakir Naik changed the definition of the word and no Arabic speaker would believe him. And ironically, if Zakir Naik says that the word means reflected light, then the Quran no longer makes sense. God takes people out of the darkness into reflected light, while the devil takes people out of reflected light into darkness. What is that supposed to mean? Are people standing in a bathroom in front of a mirror, shining a light in their own face, and then the devil takes them to a room without a mirror? They desire to put out the light of Allah with their mouths. Again, the same Arabic word. People want to put out the reflected light of Allah. What? Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. Well, according to Zakir Naik, this has to mean that Allah is the reflected light of the heavens and the earth. So the heavens and the earth is the true light when God isn't. I don't know if this is pantheism or what heresy this is, but clearly this is not the meaning of the Arabic word. It just means light. That is it. And even if we granted Zakir Naik's attempt at redefining words, it is still a bad argument. Aristarchus of Samos, who lived roughly between the year 310 and 230 BC, already believed that the moon reflected the sun's light. And even way before him, another Greek philosopher who lived in the 5th century BC proposed this as well. So this knowledge was already out in the world, roughly 1,000 years before Islam even existed. Now you might say, oh, well done for refuting Zakir Naik, going for the easy stuff while ignoring the more sophisticated scientific miracle arguments. Okay, look, I used this example from Zakir Naik for two reasons. Firstly, the majority of Muslims highly revere him, so I want people to stop and think, if Zakir Naik could make such blatant mistakes, what else is he wrong about? Is he actually reliable in anything he says? Maybe I shouldn't just accept everything he says and base my faith upon Zakir Naik and Ahmed Tirat material. That is the first reason. The second reason is that I see similar mistakes being made in countless other scientific miracle claims. Either people change the meaning of the words, or they read a whole lot of things into the text and the verse can actually be interpreted in many ways, or the same passages quoted goes on and refutes the claim being made, or such knowledge was already known and Islam could have incorporated it without supernatural causes being the explanation. People just tend to accept scientific miracle claims without fact-checking it and wondering how people would respond, whether it is videos on YouTube or articles online. Now you might be thinking, okay, fine, I hear what you are saying, but look at this video where 5 miracles are found in the Quran. These ones are legit. And then I look at it and I see one of the flaws I mentioned previously, and then I wasted hours of my time looking at these claims. And then oftentimes the Muslim just continues to believe in the claim regardless because their favorite YouTuber or Imam said it. Or alternatively, they will just say, yeah, but look at these other 20 miracle claims. You can't refute that. 1 becomes 5, 5 becomes 10, 10 becomes 20, and before you know it, you discover that people can appeal to hundreds of alleged scientific miracle claims in the Quran. For every one you knock down, there is just 10 around the corner. And this is why I try to avoid this discussion altogether. So instead, I grant the miracle claim. Zakir Naik, your claim about reflected light is true. No one knew this before the Quran miraculously pointed this out. The Quran contains numerical and scientific miracles. Okay, I will grant that. I don't believe that it actually contains any miracles, but I am willing to accept it for the sake of argument. So now you proved that there is a supernatural element to the Quran. Okay, now my question is, how does that lead to the conclusion that the Quran is from God? As a Christian, I have no problem with the Quran containing miracles. I don't believe it has any miracles, but if it did, so what? In Exodus chapter 7 verses 10 to 12, Egyptian magicians could perform miracles. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 9, it says that the lawless one can do signs and wonders. And in Matthew 24:24, Jesus said that false messiahs and false prophets will perform signs and wonders and lead people astray. If false messiahs, false prophets, and others can do miracles, logically I am completely okay with the idea that the Quran could contain miracles. That would not change anything for me. Things like numerical miracles or having access to knowledge unknown to us is obviously within the grasp of evil spirits to accomplish and present. And now consider the following. The Quran contradicts who the historical Jesus claimed to be. For example, one of Jesus' disciples, Thomas, worshipped Jesus as his Lord and his God, and Jesus responded positively by blessing those who have faith like Thomas. John, who was a disciple of Jesus himself, identified Jesus as the eternal Word who is God in his prologue. And in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 24, Jesus was condemned to death by his audience. Why? What did he say? He was condemned because of who he claimed to be. They accused him of blasphemy. It wasn't blasphemy in the first century to claim to be the Messiah, but claiming to be divine would be blasphemy if you were not divine. Jesus claimed to be the second divine figure from the book of Daniel, the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven. Coming on the clouds of heaven is something only God does in the Old Testament. This is why they accused Jesus of blasphemy and condemned him to death. He claimed to be the second divine figure from the book of Daniel. The historical Jesus claimed to be God and was worshipped as such by his own disciples. If I grant that the Quran is supernatural because of some scientific miracle, then the question I would have to ask is, why are supernatural forces leading me away from the true historical Jesus? And as Jesus warned in Matthew chapter 7 verses 15 to 16, false prophets would come in sheep's clothing. But Jesus said that we will know them by their fruits. What is the fruits of Muhammad and Islam? Consider the following. Muslim historians like Al-Tabari say that all the Muslims have reported on behalf of their prophet that he forced a group of people into Islam and refused to accept anything from them except them converting to Islam, and he ordered their execution if they rejected Islam. Those were groups such as the pagan Arab polytheists, the apostates, and whoever resembled them. Similarly, Ibn Hazm said, the Messenger of Allah compelled those who are not people of the book to embrace Islam or the sword. So in the Bible, God gradually had to lead wicked societies and work with what he had throughout the Old Testament, gradually revealing the true way of life, fully revealed in Jesus, in his teachings of love, mercy, and peace. And in the early centuries of Christianity, you see Christians changing the moral landscape forever, changing the world for the better. And then Muhammad and the Quran comes along, does not preach peace for all, does not preach to love your enemies, and instead brought violence on a large scale. Is this spirit in accord with the gospel? And what about Muhammad marrying and having sex with a girl who has not even reached puberty? Ibn Kafir said, his statement he contracted a marriage with Aisha when she was 6 thereafter consummating the marriage with her when she was 9, is not disputed by anyone and is well established in the Sahih collections of traditions and elsewhere. And Al-Shafi said that both the cases of marriage and consummation took place when Aisha was a minor who had no command over herself. As Jesus said, you will know them by their fruits when you judge whether someone is a false prophet. Now let's put all of this together and wrap this video up. Let's grant that there are miracles in the Quran. The Quran is supernatural. I don't actually believe that, but just for the sake of argument. Now the question would be, why is this supernatural thing going against God's character, which was gradually revealed throughout the Bible and culminating in the teachings of Jesus? Why is this supernatural thing going radically against the conscience God gave me? Why is it leading me away from the true historical Jesus, his identity and his teachings? If the Quran really was miraculous, then it means that an evil supernatural force is leading me away from the truth of Jesus, his identity and his teachings. So ironically, if the Quran really contained scientific miracles or something like that, you have a better chance in proving Christianity to be true than Islam. Thank you for watching this video, and may God bless you and bring you peace and bring you to the truth. And I just want to say that my intention is not to be offensive or provoke an angry response or anything like that. I know that there is a lot of ungodly behavior among polemicists online from all sides, and I am not a supporter of that. But it is obviously difficult to bring up certain points without coming across as someone wanting to offend and trigger someone. So it is a bit difficult to bring something up like Muhammad having sex with a prepubescent girl, because prepubescent girls by definition cannot provide the proper consent necessary, so he raped a child. So it is difficult to state that fact without Muslims being angry at me, but my intention is to appeal to the conscience God gave you, because God did give you a conscience. My intention is not to be offensive, so I do apologize if you are a Muslim and feel like I should have phrased something differently. God bless.